All right, in this recording, we're going to develop the rower for the dragon boat. And what you can see here is a progression from left to right, from the basic polygon cube through to a little bit more refined polygon count at the very end. All right, so I've set up some of the basic tools on my shelf up here that will be used in this process. So I'm going to begin by dropping a simple polygon cube. And I'm going to center it and scale it down a bit. And if I want to center it, I can hold down X on the keyboard after hitting W with my move, and I kind of snap that to the center. So this cube is going to represent the torso. So I'm just going to quickly give it a little height, narrow it a bit like so. All right, so I've developed a basic polygon here, and our goal is to come up with something similar to what's on the left. So I'm going to take that polygon, I'm going to use my edge loop tool, and I'm going to split this in half. Now I want this to be symmetrical because we'll be deleting the right half at some point. So I'm going to go to my top view, and I'm going to get that edge. And I'm going to hold down X. I'm going to snap this to the Z and X intersection. All right, so we turn to our perspective, you can see it's pretty much split in half. Now we're going to go and add a few more splits so that we can add the geometry for the arms and the leg. So once again, I'll use my edge loop tool, and I'm clicking up here towards the top near the chest. You can see the arms will eventually come out from either side of this polygon based on where that's placed. I'll put another one kind of in the middle of the body like so. And return to my move tool, and I'll go back to my object mode, and I'm now going to save. I'll hit continue. So the process is pretty simple now. We're going to start to pull some polygons out to give us the beginnings of the arm and the leg. All right, so I'll start with the arm. I'll right click, I'll choose face, and I'll click in this corner, and I'll click on my extrude poly tool, and I'll pull that out, and that's just going to establish the shoulder. Again, this is pretty subjective on shape, size, etc. You can always go in and refine this afterwards. You'll see that this is kind of, I've added a couple of more slices on this. So I'm going to back up a second here. I'm going to add two more clips before I go any further. So I'll put one like so and one like so. And this is going to allow me to eventually pull out the head, and you can see I can manage the thickness of the arms a little bit better. So now we'll proceed to the extrude poly tool. And I'll pull one piece out again for the shoulder. And I'll come around and click on this, and once again I can click on that tool, that poly extrude tool, or I can hit G to continue this. Now usually what I'll do is I'll pull this out and get the length of the arm minus the hand to kind of establish the length of the arm. And as long as you keep this polygon count low as you're working, you can always adjust these. I'm going to begin to taper it there where it might come down to the wrist. And now I'm going to use my edge loop tool, and I'm going to establish where I'd like that to bend at the elbow at some point. So I'll put it roughly there, about halfway between the upper arm and the lower arm. Get my scale tool. Once again, I'll taper that a bit. And if you notice this model here, there's a bit of an angle. I'm going to do that with my move tool so that I can bias that. So when we put the bones in and we put our IK kinematics to animate this, it will follow the bend of the arm, which is what we would like it to do. Hit Command S to save and continue. And now I'm going to start to add some polygons to create the hand. So I'm simply going to come down to the wrist here. I'll hit face, excuse me, and I'll hit my polygon tool, and this hand is going to be over the top of the paddle, so it's going to be out flat. Right, so I'll click on that, and I'm going to start to flatten that out like so. Where the palm of the hand would come from there. I'll give it a little bit more width. And then I'm going to hit G again to bring out yet another polygon, and that's going to be the grouping of the fingers. I'm keeping this a very, very stylistic, graphic, simple model. I think this might be a good way to go to establish the beginnings of it. You could always go in and refine more if need be. As you can see now, if I was going to flatten it out a bit, you can see that we're starting to see how the hand would flatten out. Like, so I'm going to hit 3 on the keyboard to go to my my smooth proxy to get a better idea of how that would look. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go out and I'm going to start to refine this, adding a few more points, and then I'll come back and we'll continue from there. All right, so I've added a couple extra lines here, some on either side where the elbow will be so that it bends a little nicer when we rig it and animate it. And then I'm trying to define the wrist a little bit more here. Now I'm going to go in and I'm going to put in some references for the thumb. If we would just take a look at what we're going for here, we can see then the context of the thumb. We're going to split along here and add a couple more loops. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll do that. So I'll go ahead and I'll get my edge loop. I'm going to put one in here, like so. And I'm going to get my Smart tool, and I'll get the multi-cut, which is right here. I'll select that. If I scroll down in that menu, I want to make sure the snap is minimized to 1%. And that's going to give me a little bit more control over placing these cuts. So I'm just going to go in and cut from here to there and maybe to there. I'll hit return to establish that path. So the thumb's going to be coming from here. So I need one more edge loop here. So I'm going to grab this and I'll click and throw that in like so. Return back to my move tool. And now I'm going to move this edge right in here. I'll select this line and this line. I'm shift selecting and I'll pull that like so. Select these two and maybe I'll pull that down so you can see I'm kind of moving it so that this plane is at an angle. So now if I were to go to face and I were to select that extrude tool, I can now start to pull out the surface I want to have the thumb come out. And again, this is going to be over the top of the paddle, so I might start to manipulate this a bit just to kind of set it up for the angle I want. And I'll go like so. And I'm going to taper it a bit. And then I'm going to select this face, and I'm going to extrude for that. So I'll hit G, or I'll click on the extrude poly tool, and I'll start to extrude the digits for the thumb. And again, I'm keeping these poly extrusions to a minimum. I can always go in and refine this afterwards. So this will pretty much establish a basic thumb here. I'll hit Command S to save it. And once again, I'm going to go to my proxy by hitting 3. And you can see what we've got so far. All right. So perhaps that thumb's a little long. Maybe the position's not quite right, but that's not a problem because once I've got the paddle made, I'll refine that. So I'll go back to 1 on the keyboard. Command S to save. Now, what we're going to do next is we're going to go and very basically, we're going to put that leg in.